All right. Hello. My name is Carter Jungi, and I am a student enrolled in Education 403. To my right over here, I have Eddie. He is in the education program as well, history major, just like myself. So he is going to be my critical conversation friend in this case. Um, Anything else you want to introduce yourself about?
You covered it.
Okay. So, kind of just going off the first question, just kind of describing our ideas of behind technology integration. Kind of what is the purpose of using this technology, and I'll just kind of go first. And if you have anything to add, um, I think like the purpose of it is kind of just to learn new skills. Obviously, with technology, it obviously I feel like keeps the students more engaged and allows them to use creativity as well. Um, so that's kind of what I have for the purpose of it. Obviously, it has lots of information out there, so it's good use for finding sources and all that stuff.
Yeah, I like what you said about a lot of skills being with learning technology is that's kind of become a huge thing and it grows every year. So that's definitely important, and it's just a great aid to teaching. You can do limitless things with technology, and it can definitely improve your education.
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially since technology and just internet nowadays is just going to become more and more.
It's huge.
It's crazy how time has come, over time. So
and with like a lot of jobs being pushed to being at home the whole time,
Yeah, we'll kind of talk about that a little bit too. But
Sweet.
So a little bit of like affordances and constraints of technology, the goods and the bads. Like I kind of said earlier, just all the access to information when you're using technology. Usually, mainly internet is where you're going to find a lot of your information. But again, collaboration, and this is just through in general with everybody. But one thing for sure is for students will be able to collaborate a lot more, and it'll be with technology, it'll incorporate an interactive learning environment. So that's kind of what I have for that. As far as constraints, obviously there's cost with technology. There could be tech difficulties. As always, there's always difficulties with that. And another thing too is this usually comes when you kind of use maybe a little bit too much technology, but there can be a lot of distractions. I know for classes, even in my practicum, there are kids who, they do a lot of their assignments and a lot of their work, through computers and online. And, sometimes they can get distracted, look up other things that are in their interest, YouTube, should probably even go to TikTok on the computer. Who knows what there can be. So, I guess I kind of covered a lot there, but if you have anything else.
Definitely agree with distractions. I struggled with that. And I still do.
Oh, yeah.
I think everyone does with technology. So, using it in the right amount and not having it so widespread to make sure that students are engaged when they have access to it.
Of course. All right, moving on. This is kind of, I guess this is more of a question that's kind of for me. If there's anything you can chime into, but as far as just kind of over the course of the 3 semesters, there's been kind of a lot of topics and experiences, even discussions that we've had that have, been particularly meaningful. Over the 3 semesters, I think just my overall knowledge of technology, I've learned a lot more and different strategies to use it in for my future classrooms. Some of the ones that I highlighted there are kind of my favorite ones that we went over were the virtual and augmented realities. Just kind of a different approach to, student work. Kind of, again, just incorporating creativity. And another thing, too, is the online hybrid education. Of course, we saw that in COVID-19 with the switch. A lot of teachers had a lot of different problems with that. If there's ever a case where that might happen down the road, hopefully, um, that'll help with that, or just kind of knowing, different strategies, different ways to go around that if that problem occurs again. Another thing too, we talked a little bit about social media. I know we did in the labs, and we've done it before in the other classes too in previous years. Just kind of how to incorporate social media. Obviously, this is can be a big distraction, but there's when we've looked at different like different social media accounts, and like how much technology, or not technology, how many accounts there are for that just have a lot of information and they're good for learning. Students can kind of usually use that, just for their advantage, I guess. And of course, social media, you can communicate with peers, make connections, and look more information. Um, that's basically a little bit of everything. I don't know if you have anything. I know you took yours at a community college.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have anything kind of maybe an experience you want to share about there.
Yeah, I think you covered it. Just kind of being able or giving you more options and ideas on how to incorporate it into your classroom is what I learned about,
Yeah.
and how to enhance the learning.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. So we're both history, so this is going to work pretty well. We're just kind of going to talk about how technology can help the students in general. Um, just kind of going off a big list. With history, there's going to be many times where students will, have the option to or will have to use internet to research ideas, topics, discussions, all that sort of stuff. And with that, they're going to be able to explore websites, again, mostly for like projects to use and papers to write and all that stuff. Obviously, with technology, a use of video, so videos that you can access, YouTube can be a great source for that. A lot of good educational videos on there that, in history that you can use, especially since history can be such a really broad topic at cases. Kind of, going more into detail about that. Videos can help with that sometimes. Um, Digital archives, museums, libraries, archives. That's something that even, as a college student, I've used quite a lot. I'm sure you have too, especially library and maybe the archives. Um, Another thing too, virtual field trips, even. Um, just something, for students to kind of get a better visual of kind of how, in a sense, for example, like, how things were in, a certain time period and stuff, and kind of being able to go on a virtual field trip just to kind of check out places and stuff. Um, and it could be like over a topic that we're talking about or something. Um, and then I guess online discussion, that's kind of what every class does, but also class presentations. So when you're using, PowerPoint, other websites like Vimeo, um, there's a couple other websites that I can't remember at the top of my head, but, for presentation slides, timelines, any other kind of projects like maps and stuff too. So that was a lot. I don't know if you have anything
Yeah,
else as far as that.
yeah, just the internet's such a good resource, and it helps students with their problem solving skills. As you got to find credible sources, and you got to find the sites and what information not to use and what information to use. So that's definitely an important skill for students to have.
Absolutely, and that, like he said, like Eddie said, he highlighted the fact, just kind of knowing what information to use and not to use. Obviously, that's going to be a big thing. I'm in my practicum right now, and a lot of the kids will use Wikipedia. And in high school, a lot of different teachers would try to. They were really good at not letting the students use Wikipedia, just because it's a website that anybody can create an account and edit stuff. Um, At least that's what I've always been told. I really don't know. I just always been told Wikipedia is not a good source. So
Yeah, I mean it's good for like really vague background
of
information,
course,
but if
yep.
you're going into depth on a topic, you definitely want to
Yep,
find
and you
something
don't want to
else.
use that. You don't want to use that website for any sources for information. And lastly, just time for critical analysis. Out of the following advanced ed tech topics we all discussed throughout classes, I kind of chose to go with digital equity. And that's what that is just ensuring all the students have availability and they have access to all these tools, resources, and skills that are necessary to benefit their learning. And examples are obviously having good internet, having stable internet, but having a good computer software, hardware, all that kind of stuff. Um, Obviously, kind of going back to COVID-19 with another virus outbreak that happened. Um, Schools were closed, students were at home, and I think the biggest thing we kind of look at is just the difference with students and where they come from. For low income students versus high income students. Um, More looking at low income students. Might not have reliable internet access. And I know for like some schools too. I didn't have a school. I was my school had we had computers and we were able to take them home. But some schools didn't have. You weren't allowed to take your computers home. I don't know if you had anything like this or
We were able
um,
to, but
yeah. But I know there are schools out there that you weren't allowed to take computers home. So um, when COVID-19 especially struck with the virus outbreak and schools were closed, I feel like it was very hard for students, especially just kind of looking at not no internet at all. So and also it might, like we were talking about, no access to computers and stuff. I know one thing that I'm from Sioux City Schools Community District. They during COVID-19 one time they did um, they put like I don't know how to explain it. There were areas around the city that they made reliable internet connection for students to go there, especially during COVID when a lot of stuff was closed down. Um, they would allow students to go to places to finish up, homework assignments or whatever it may be. Usually it was assignments, but all just any kind of classroom work. That was just kind of some. I guess that's something kind of looking more that affects like the society at large, but like the students and just kind of like you never know what'll happen. I guess again, definitely something that can happen, and I think that just kind of knowing kind of different steps to take and obviously knowing the difference between students of low income and high income. It's important to know that if there is a case that happens like that again, we have to be able to adapt and use our best strategies to help every student in need. So um, that's basically everything. I don't know if you had anything to add on to that.
you covered it.
That's the conversation critical conversation with a friend. Thank you again, Eddie.
No worries.
And yes, thank you for watching.